And at that time, I would say it was more intuitive. One portfolio mistake students should avoid. One habit every young artist should develop. Best advice you received as an artist. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Visible Studio. It's a space where educators, artists, designers, and creative thinkers come together to explore learning, the process, pedagogy, and practice behind it, especially through arts. So today's episode is on the art school portfolio, building identity, process, and purpose. An art school portfolio is often seen as a doorway into the university, but perhaps it is much more than that. It is a mirror of how young artist thinks, questions, experiments, fails, and discover who they are becoming in the near future. In this episode, we share a powerful guide for students, educators, parents, and emerging artists navigating the often overwhelming processes of building an art school portfolio. The conversation would move beyond how to get it, and how to get into these universities. And instead, we explore how portfolios become reflections of identity, curiosity, experimentation, and intention. And for that, we have our guest. I'm delighted to welcome Miss Neha Pandit. She's an artist, educator, curriculum developer, and founder of We Learn. With extensive experience across IB and IGCSE education, Neha has worked as an visual arts educator, IBDP coordinator, secondary head, and mentor for interdisciplinary student-led programs. Her work reflects a strong belief in experimental, inquiry-driven, and holistic learning. While her artistic practice spans ceramics, metals, textiles, fashion, and visual merchandising. What makes her perspective especially meaningful is her commitment to balancing creativity with passionate leadership, always viewing education as a lifelong journey of learning, adaptability, and human connection. And without wasting any more time, it's over to you, Ms. Neha.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And, it's a pleasure that, we are sharing this platform. Of course, we go back, I think, more than 15
More
years
than
now.
15 years. I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's a pleasure, to come back on the same platform with like-minded artists. And now, to share whatever we have gained, through our years of being an artist, being in the education space, now passing it on to the next generation. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's most pleasure. I still remember the first time I met you. You were working in Oberoi, and I was just
Yes.
stepping into the field of education. And like you
Yeah.
rightly said, it's slowly moving forward.
True,
And
true, true.
yes, we can start the presentation.
Yeah. So, yes, so, the way you have, shared about the background of how a student needs to prep to get into a new phase of life. So, what we would be sharing in this episode would be what is the importance of an art portfolio and how to do it and how not to get overwhelmed by it, but look at it as such a wonderful journey to discover oneself, not just as a student, but as a constant learner in the field of art. So, yes, I'll be starting the presentation. So, fundamentally, we'll talk about what is a portfolio. Now, a portfolio is one of the most important tools for an artist. Now, what I would say, so I'm not going to go by the words, what is there shared on the screen. I'm more, of a verbal person. So I just, share it in my own words. I think portfolio is as unique as one's thumbprint. Your portfolio as a student should always show your individual nature. Nobody is right, nobody is wrong, nobody is better, nobody is worse. What you stand for should be coming out in a portfolio. Of course, we need to follow a certain protocol and a decorum while curating the portfolio. So the first few points which I normally take my students through is following the three pointers what are shared in the PowerPoint here is the three C's. First and foremost is the concept. What is your idea? And moving on from what is your idea to what is the idea going to be in context with something secondary. And then comes your content. Your content is the skill what you are planning to showcase. So very important that if you do not have a strong concept, you will not be able to work with the breadth and the depth of it. And with that, it is very important to align to the context. Now the context can be something like you want to talk about being a problem solver, or having a strong stand for a certain cause, or you would want to talk about a sustainability, or you would want to talk about how you are a lateral thinker. So your context can be as varied as different facets of your own personality. Moving on, once we have the concept and the skills what we want to use, we would be using the skills in three different ways. First of all is to explore. You need to explore your concept in different media. So what we say is media, mediums, and materials. You have to experiment with various materials. And the experience what we talk is not about a successful outcome, but how you would have failed, or how your say artwork has not come up to what you would have visualized. So it is very important to show the journey. Most of the portfolios, they want to show the final outcome. We
Exactly.
need to understand the university does not want to see you as a superwoman or a superman. They
Yeah.
want to see a human being. They want to see the perseverance that if you have thought and if something has failed, how do you take failure in your stride? Do you want to persevere, that same thought? Or are you looking at it as a problem solver and trying to see the artwork in a different point of view? And yes, right. And of course, then the last three are you review your work, right? So the moment you finish one step, you're going to review that, you are going to see it from different perspectives, right? Then you have to refine. That means whatever you have figured out that has gone wrong, we are going to refine the process. And then after that whole thing, we are going to reflect, right from how did I start my concept, and how did I work in different mediums, and how did I fail, or how did I succeed, and now what am I going to make out of it.
This is really
Moving
like,
on from there.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
really so clear for the students. And so the two takeaways
Yeah.
for me, I would be in your
Yeah.
previous slide. One is that
Sure.
your the art portfolio is basically who we are, right?
True.
It's most like our reflection in the truest form,
Right.
following the norms of
Right.
society, of course. And this breaking up is so clear even for a student how to approach it. However, one
Yeah. So
question I have to ask
yes.
in that is I have a
Sure.
lot of students who are getting lost into showing the technique and the skill.
Right.
And then, somewhere that the concept and that thread is forgotten.
Is
And then
lost.
way
Yes.
later on in the journey, they try to grab it again.
Right. Right.
So you've seen that, and how do you address that in your students?
So yeah, okay. So there is one more way, right? That probably a student, already has a concept in mind and just wants to work to that same line of thought, right? So sometimes they already have a product and then they want to build up a story, right?
Right.
So that could also be the
Yes.
other, side of the
Other
approach.
journey. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, whether the student is starting from the concept or from the product, what I tell them is that you join the dots. You
Mm.
join the three C's and the three E's and the three cars, right?
All right.
If you are following these steps, your portfolio, whether you are applying for a university, or you are an IB student, or you are an IGCSE a student, or whatever, KSA2,
Yes. Yes.
follow these steps and your portfolio will come in the way where you will be matching all the rubrics, all
Mm.
the the checklist.
Yes.
So even if the student is starting, say, midway, okay, like, he doesn't know what he wants to do, and he's just toying around with a medium, say, he's flying, say, he's just toying around with, say, clay, right? So then he would be falling in the experimental stage here, where you see, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, right out here. So if he's here at the experimental stage, he still has a chance to go back, that after experimenting, let me see what concept can I tie up with. So
Oh.
right now he has a content, but then he can break it down into context and concept.
Hmm.
Or he can go at the bottom and see that how can he refine his skills.
Refinement.
So at any point of time, you can move like upwards or downwards, but
Yeah,
make
it's more
sure
like
that
a
you are
cyclic process.
yes,
Can go
yes, yeah,
anywhere
but
as long as you
right.
address each and every one of it. Yes, that is that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's very important to tie up the loop. You
Hmm.
can start from wherever you can, right? And that's what we have seen, that students, are not typically going to follow, right from the top
Yeah,
and
because
go
it's
towards
very
the
hard
bottom.
for them to come up with a concept right away in the beginning, even before they've
Right.
experimented with and played away with the material. Yeah.
Yeah. But wherever they're starting, make sure that, you are just going to close the loop, and then you'll have the final, yeah, kind of an
Yeah.
output, what is required.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So moving on from here, we have something that, what is the journey. So like ideally a student, would be showing some sparks, right? Some eureka moments, that, oh, I'm creative, or or why don't I try such a thing. So most of the time we have observed that it happens in grade 7th, 8th and 9th, right? And that is the foundation time for them to build up on the skills. We are not talking about, how would a concept come through, or how would it be refined. I mean, the grade 7, 8, 9 is like a playground for them, right?
Hmm.
Let them play it out, let them, just kind of dabble in different mediums, materials, just play, right? And while playing, I think that's the best part, what I, tell most of the parents, that, please observe what your child does when the child is free, right? What he does when he is doing in his free time is the passion, what you can make it, further on.
Okay.
So grade 7th, 8th and 9th would be the best time to build skills. And then 8th, 9th, 10th, is somewhere, where we are looking at subject choices, right,
Hmm.
in the schools. And I think that would be a great time for the students to take, varied subject choices, coming from a fixed mindset. A parent would say that, no, my child is scoring best in this and I want him to pursue. On the contrary, what I would recommend, that let your child experiment now, right? Because once he finalizes his undergrad course, it's very difficult to change the course.
Yes.
But in 8, 9, 10, let the child take as many different subjects as he can. Let him try it out there. And then the process of funneling starts in grade 10.
Hmm.
So ideally by grade 10, the student is more or less out there knowing that, okay, I mean, this is the kind of stream what I would like to pursue. And that's the time where we start talking about building a portfolio. The
Hmm.
best time, what we recommend would be in grade 10 vacation, because they don't have the pressure to study for the high schools, right? And
Yes.
that's the time when, they don't have books back home to study in the summer vacations. So why don't we substitute the books with the portfolios? And, so grade 10 summers would be great time to start. Of course, then moving on to grade 11, and then, throwing in some kind of, say, internships, some kind of shadowing, working in a studio, or, just dabbling in some summer programs also. And of course, by grade 11, 12, it is, you are on a hot seat where the student is expected to finish the portfolio. Because by grade 12 September, if those who are planning for a KD would need a portfolio ready by September. So
Hmm.
we actually do not count grade 12
Well, the
as
12.
a preview.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So grade 10 vacation and grade 11
11, the first half
vacation.
of the year, yeah, maximum.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that should be the timeline, kind of an ideal timeline. Of course, we have some, who would be blooming in later.
Hmm.
So, we do adapt to such kind of situations also. But ideally, a healthy timeline would be something like what is being shared here.
So here, this is a lovely journey for the parents to reflect and observe the child and see, okay, where is
Yeah,
my child kind of moving?
right.
What about the teachers? And any feedback? Like, how would you, of course, in 7, 8, and 9, like you said, students explore. So we have a lot of students in the class who are into arts for the first time. So,
Yeah,
any suggestion for the teachers of grade 7, 8, and 9 how to experiment and give them the learning spaces to explore with multiple materials? And then, how can
sure.
they move on from the 7, 8, and 9 to the 9 and 10 to building their portfolio?
True. So, I mean, we have worked with multiple schools, across the country as a consultation to the visual art department, right from K to 12, and I think when you are working, so probably I had the benefit of being the secondary head or the high school head. So one of the best practices, what I say, is the scope and sequence,
Hmm.
right? It is very, very important for teachers across the grade to sit and plan the overview, plan the
Yeah,
scope
so the
and
vertical articulation
yes, right.
that
So
you're talking
basically,
about. Okay.
you're right.
Yeah.
So a grade one, teacher has to sit with a grade 12 teacher, right? Most of the
Hmm.
schools would be having sections like pre-primary, primary, secondary, high schools, but ideally the best practices would be happening where the faculties across the age groups sit and then they plan kind of grade wise what. So what I remember that what I used to do is first of foremost understand the standardizations of the board, right? So once you
Hmm.
understand the standardizations of the board, you understand what is the expectations of the board, and in that way what happens is that you are working based on backward planning, right? So there is something called understanding by design. So
Hmm.
you will be designing the curriculum in such a way that you are doing backward planning, that if the child is being, say, introduced to clay, right? What is it that he's going to do in grade 1? What would
Hmm.
he then be progressing to grade 5, and by grade 12 what do you want him to do? So if
Yeah.
you want the student, say in grade 12, to be understand to understand how the furnace work, or how would the glazing happen, you
Hmm.
just have to then bring it down to grade 1.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, so that's the
And from
technique,
the
or
pre-play to slowly taking them forward
right.
with the material and over the
Yes.
years. Right.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we can move on to the next one. Just a sec. Okay, one sec. Yeah. So what happens, in uh, just one sec. Just one sec. Can
Yeah.
you just tell her that I'm okay? Sorry for this.
No problem.
So what happens is, like what you said, right? That how would a student, be exploring all the mediums material? So I think the best way, for a grade 12 teacher, would be understanding that these are the different topics which the student will be taking for an undergrad. So if
Mhm.
my grade 12 student in my studio, in a school studio, would be, say, coming in and saying that, ma'am, I want to do something with fashion branding, right? Or something in fashion. The visual art teacher should be aware of the different professions which are upcoming in 2035, right? And should be aware of what the trends are in terms of, uh, say, the careers. So one more thing what we have started to do as a We Learn Studio is that we are now going to schools and school counselors and having a conversation with them that the faculties needs to be updated of what is out there in the world,
Yeah, and
right?
also predict 5 years from
And
now. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I said, okay, the trend.
Yeah.
So if I'm still stuck up, with my textbook knowledge of what I did in my art school is redundant
Yeah,
now.
20 years back, that's redundant. Yeah.
Is redundant. I may be great at my skill set, but
Mm.
I'm still not preparing my student to be geared up for the life outside the school.
Yeah.
Right. So first of all, it is about what courses can I equip my student to be, like aware outside, say the school program. So if my student is great in fashion, can I give them at least a peek, or just like an overview of what could be fashion branding, fashion business, fashion communication, fashion journalism, fashion marketing, textiles, designing, so on and so forth. Right. So at least the teachers should, be aware of what is lying out there, and that's how you prepare them for the real world.
So the
Right. So
teachers
it's
here
a
are also joining hands with the counselors so as to
they should
understand and
be.
prepare them for the upcoming.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, in fact, they should be. So, like I said, that we are working very, very closely now to schools. I mean, with schools, faculties, and counselors, and we are doing professional development courses for them. Now,
Hmm.
there is also something which we observe, that school counselors, I mean, up till date, they may be fantastic with the regular, say, STEM subjects, right?
Yeah.
Science, technology, engineering, charter accountancy, medicines. But when it comes to art, I think they are not yet so much aware of what is lying
Yes,
outside,
exactly.
right? Yeah. So the school may be, kind of a hosting, say, like a uni fair, but it's very important for the visual art teacher to attend
Also
that uni
understand
fair.
it. Yeah.
Yes, with the
And
student.
yeah. And also I feel that the parents also need to understand where are they heading. So
Right.
it's all like
Yeah.
working together. None of them
Yeah.
can work independently.
Correct. So that is what we say, that we always work in a triangle. We need to have the faculty or the counselor, the student, and the parent, and then we are there to join the dots for them.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's something which is there. That it's very important for the student and the faculty to basically attach the skill with one of the exploratory programs which is there in the real world.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
here, would you also suggest the students to get introduced to the real life applications of art through internships or any other programs?
Right. So, like I said, that the best time to shadow or to do, and so, okay, very typically, right? No, we have used this word internship in a checklist for the counselors. So, fundamentally, when we're talking about internships, we are talking about a 16, 17-year-old going to work.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's not allowed by the government, right, for the minors to work,
Yeah.
but yeah, we do want to send them there. So that's a term, now what I've started to use with my students, that you don't take it as an internship, just use the word shadowing, right?
Yeah.
Just shadow your mentor, right? Just shadow whatever he she does. What is a thinking process, how do they talk, how do they work, what are their timelines. So just understanding them at a workplace is not
Yes.
going to complete your experience. You should be seeing what is behind the scenes,
Behind the scenes.
right? So most of my girls would say, ma'am, I want to do fashion designing, I want to have my own fashion show. So I said, please go and see backstage, right?
Yes.
It's not as
As
glamorous as
glamorous
what
as
we
you
see.
see in front. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or say, yeah, or say, I want to be, like a stylist. I said, please go and shadow a stylist. He is going to be out in the sun, right, for like say 10 hours for the shoot, and it's not the best, spaces to be. So that's
Yeah,
what I
because
say, that
students
rather.
are often seeing the, like you said, on stage, the glamour
Yeah.
part of it, but what goes
Yes.
behind? Like similarly for
Yes.
animation with my background, I know so many of my
Right.
colleagues, they're kind of so frustrated because of the long working hours, which they never consider.
Yes.
Or example,
Yeah.
they're looking at animation only as the 3D aspects of it. So get to know what different kinds and formats exist in the world. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 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 So yeah, coming to this, like I said, right, that when students are exposed to different kinds of experiences within the school. Very typically, one just knows portfolio as just for visual arts. However, now all the colleges like across the globe, they are expecting portfolio. So portfolio, I think, can be simplified is like a docket, which is showing not just your transcripts and your LORs and your statement of purposes, but showing it in a visual representation of what you are thinking or what you'd like to do. So what we do at We Learn Studio is, of course, we do portfolios for art students, but we uh, what you would call, that very ironically in 25, 26, we have more of STEM passion projects than the art portfolios, right? So yeah, so what I feel is, I mean, I take it, as a credit or a success that, whatever we have done for the last 3 years, going to different schools, talking to counselors, that, I mean, this is very important way of documenting your students' concepts and ideas. So say something for a STEAM portfolio. The colleges are not expecting students to be, say, creative in an artistic way. They want to see how do they think.
Yeah.
How are their uh, kind of approaches towards learning. Are they close minded? Do they have a growth mindset? Do they have a problem solving aptitude, right? So in this way, if you're making a portfolio for a STEAM student, they are talking more about the concepts and the context over here. Whereas something like a passion project, could be that, we have seen this that a lot of times what I have seen is that most of the colleges would like to work with the toppers, right? uh, I think very typically, in the classroom also, the topper is going to shine, and the teacher is going to remember the topper and the not so bright student, right?
And the middle
They
ones
have
get
some,
lost, like the
the
middle
middle ones, they
child.
get lost,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so the average Joe, right, what we
Yeah.
say, he doesn't have like an identity within the classroom, and he doesn't know where to fall, right? And he so the pressure for the average kid is much more,
Or
that a little bit more push and you can be there, and if he doesn't push himself, he can slide down, right? So to sustain his averageness is also very important according to me. So what would you do with a student, who doesn't have something very fantastic in the resume? So what we have done is that we now combine passion of that student. So every student has a passion, right? It could be, he loves, say dancing, cars, whatever it is. So this is what we do, is that we take the passion of the student and then we combine it with at least 3 of these subjects what he's picked up in the school. Right? So basically 2 majors and 1 minor with the passion, and that's how we make a good combo. So say somebody like, what you can see, one portfolio was for dance, and this student wanted to go for a pre-med but was not scoring that great, and we were trying to get her in through a scholarship. So what we did is that we combined her passion of dance. So she's a hip hop dancer, and she would be performing in all the concerts in the school.
Oh, that's
And what we did was, so what we did was that we said that, okay, through dancing, what can you bring out in biomedical like approach, right? So when you are dancing, your brain is secreting happy hormones, right? So why don't you simplify this entire process of happy hormones to the primary kids? And this is what we did, that we planned for her, to do flash dances in the school, and then to document, that what happens, like what was the mood of a child like earlier. So probably, in a maths class or, or in a science class, and suddenly there is a flash dance, happening, and
how
the
it
child is,
impacts the community.
yes,
Yes,
yeah,
amazing.
so the kind of energy, the kind of mood, along with it, how does the body move in? So that is how a student is going to understand the anatomy of the body, and through that we are understanding maths and science. So what we did, we combined dance, maths, science and biology, and that's how we made this project for this kid. So just imagine, that when this kid is asked by the admission officer that tell me something about yourself. This is a story what she says.
Yes, exactly. And just that one line, sometimes they put, I like dancing or I've performed in colleges. That does not have a
Right.
story behind, it gets lost in all of
Correct.
that data. So here,
Right.
she's proud of it and it could show.
True. So, like we say, right, that, I mean, the world loves to hear stories, right? So,
Yes,
we have to be
yes.
storytellers. So,
Yeah.
storytellers, could be nothing more greater than one's own life,
Own life
right?
story. Yes, your
Right.
journey.
So, the conviction, what comes out when the student is going to talk, that's going to take her there. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yes. So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And give me an
Yes.
example of the STEAM portfolio.
Steam portfolio. Okay, so what you're seeing here is of a student called Sumer, and Sumer was not so great with his art, but he was inclined towards maths and sciences,
Mm,
and of course, we have parental pressures, right? So he was asked to get into engineering,
mm,
and he was just not like up to it. So the best thing for, and that is his first slide. Okay, so that's the first slide in the portfolio. So
mm.
the slide watch is showing here, like I said, that what do you love to do? He's saying, I love to play football. And I said, which is your favorite team? So he said, Spain. Okay, so we took the inspiration from Spain.
Yeah.
And I said that, where do you find speed, right? And then we thought about the bull race there.
Hmm.
And then we said that, okay, so if we have to do a problem solving, if we take the bull as a mascot, okay, how would you basically design a bicycle for a toddler, right, for a young adult, which you can see in the center here,
Yeah.
and for somebody who would need help. So if you see this, right, he has made the steering, or the
The
handle with the
horn.
bull over here. Yeah, the
Yes.
horn, and it's in red. And then here, this, see here also, you can see this. And then yeah, and then he's worked on how the wheels will be something different, which has speed and stuff like that. And this is like a wheelchair, right? So here also the bull is there and it's in red. So basically we still have the dignity of life, right? But we are
And
still,
inclusive designs.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Beautiful.
So in this way, we worked out, this was his first slide. And he said, okay. I said, now what all subjects have you worked on this
Hmm.
consciously and subconsciously? He's saying, I've done art. I said, that's just not art, right? You have done so much more. And then we talked about speed, about science, about technology, about compassion, empathy. So it's very important for students in their portfolios to show, that what is that one probably strong base for their compassion, right?
Yeah.
What are they standing up for?
Hmm.
So I said, would you want to present this to your dadaji, right?
Hmm.
And that is what we did. So then he wrote, so the next slide was based that he has a conversation with his grandfather, and he's understanding what problems does he have, and now he is into bits. Yeah, right. And he's successful out there. He's in his third year now.
Fantastic. This is such a lovely case study.
Thank you, thank you. So we'll move to the
Because
next one.
it's so common for
Yeah,
us to
sorry.
talk about only
Yeah,
our portfolios. But
right,
just
right, right.
for that, you're customizing and making each child special, feel special,
Right.
and their application special to the university. That is what matters, I feel here.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, moving on to the next one. Sorry. Yeah. So, typically, right? I mean, we have the art portfolios, and we have the larger umbrella like under to graphic. Now, what you see are, the main topics under the graphic. Now, once again, when you break them down into advertising, now you have online, offline, hybrid, blah blah blah. So what happens that when a student is taking graphic, as a larger umbrella with us, we give them an overview of what is advertising, characterization through animation, what is talking about the larger like umbrella of the subject in graphics, which seems to be the most popular one for 2026 trend. with my students at least. So we have students, who just have an understanding that they want to do graphics, but what is going to be within the subject, as a sub topics would be something like advertising, logo branding, UI, UX, visual communication, packaging, so on and so forth. So the experience what a graphic design portfolio should have would ideally be showcasing skills of a student, across all these topics, what you can see on the screen. So the university is not expecting the student, to know it all, right? So that's very important to understand, so the student does not take the pressure, that he needs to know a certain software. The whole point of a student going to the university is to learn, right? So there is no need to get a hyper about it, that I need my portfolio to be perfect. They do not want the portfolio to be perfect. They just want, like we said earlier, right, that they just want to see the spark, if the student has it in her or not. Yeah. So yeah, so do you want me to move to
Yes,
to
yes.
to the next one?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a few questions here. So, especially for graphic
sure.
design, is
Hmm.
we all know that we have this AI intervention at present. So, how are you
Yeah.
preparing them? I guess graphic
Yes.
design is one of the fields where AI has maximum impact, to a point where the students at present, they're getting confused as what is AI generated and what's real artwork, right? So how
Right.
are you preparing this group of students who are preparing themselves for your future in graphic design and animation?
So can I reframe
Yeah,
your
yeah,
question?
absolutely. Yes, yes.
How do I prepare parents?
Oh, yes. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest worry and the most common question which we get now. That no, I mean, if the world is seeing the benefits of the AI,
Yeah.
and through the benefits we can see the insecurity or the anxiety coming up in parents. That, I mean, what is the point of learning art if it can be generated, through
In seconds.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, in seconds, right? So my one question is that we all, know the benefits of modernization technology, right? But at the same time, as a human being, we always get grounded to a one-on-one experience.
Mm.
Fundamentally, you need a human element into anything that we do, right?
Yeah.
So for example, right, we have hospitals with a robotic, uh, say like a nursing care, right? But
Mm.
would a individual go for a human nurse versus a robotic nurse? What would a person prefer? A
Mm.
human being would always prefer another human being taking care of oneself. Similarly, when
In
we
the
are
line of
talking about,
teaching, yeah, we feel that, okay, maybe, I know that any answers can come out from the AI, but I would
right,
still prefer, if I'm learning something, to learn from a human being. Yeah, that
right,
counts. But still, sometimes I know friends who are complaining, who are freelancers, and complaining
hmm,
that they're losing clients because most of the work
yes,
has been AI generated and poor quality, because some of the people, they're not even interested, or they don't have an eye for the aesthetic, and they're so heavily
absolutely,
dependent.
absolutely. So yes, we do have two sides. Like one
Yeah.
is where just very rightfully what you said, that you can get things done by yourself. You don't need to hire professionals, but that is, I think, is a short term say gain,
Hmm.
or it can work. So what I tell my parents and kids is that, of course, use the AI to your benefit, but
Hmm.
how would you use AI? How would you know which prompts to give? How would you know if the AI generated like artwork is correct or not correct? For that, you need an eye. For that, you need a sense. For that, you need to do things yourself. So only when you have done things by yourself, kind say of a hands-on experience which comes in through what the student has learned in the studio. So I remember, that while I was in the art school, my first week was only been how to sharpen a pencil. And I'm like, this is not what I've come in, for an art school. I wanted to paint, I wanted to sit, and have the right angle for the model and to paint.
Yeah.
And my professor said, you don't even know how to hold a pencil.
Yeah.
You don't know
I
to
remember
sharpen a
doing
pencil.
circles, smaller circle
Yeah,
and a
right.
bigger circle and
Yeah.
a right hand circle, left hand circle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, fundamentally, what you need to learn as a foundation, which is most of the time a cumbersome and a boring phase of the journey. But if that is set strong, then you can command how you would want to do work, which has been generated by certain softwares also. So you use it to your advantage, right? Of course, we tell students that you need to cite it, but very essentially, fundamentally, within your undergrad years, do things by yourself, because then post that in life you will have to take support of a lot of softwares, once you come to like a workforce space, right? Like where
Yeah.
things need to be done, generated overnight, or where the client says, I wanted this yesterday. That's when you use it to your benefit. But you should know how to command it. So it's just very important to know what kind of commands that you give and what is the output, and then how you can once again review, refine, reflect.
Correct. Okay. Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll move to the next one. So yes, most popular one, fashion design. Now, once again, when we say fashion design, it again splits actually into two streams. One is coming from the art and one is coming from the science. So if it is fashion technology, fashion textile, right? This all falls within the science part of it. Whereas what we do is from the creative part of it. So fashion, um, branding, communication. So communication seems to be the most famous one now,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, because right now kind of communication what we are exposed to is within a 3-second rule. On a you are just swiping your, yeah, your reels, your feeds. So basically, how a student now needs to learn, uh, I mean, it could be visual communication or fashion, is how you are communicating more with a screen time rather than with a magazine, flipping what we used to do earlier.
Yeah.
So to understand the user experience and the user interface is very, very important for a communicator. Now, that communicator can be for fashion, for art, for whatever it is. But very important to now understand that where are you communicating, who is your audience. So
Audience.
very uh, like subtly what we try to do is we try the students to get a little bit of exposure for consumer psychology. It's very important to
Yeah.
understand the psyche, right?
And
The
for who
psyche
you
of
are
your consumer.
designing for. That is
Right,
important. To
right.
knowing your audience.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so understanding your consumer and understanding the psyche, and that's where then whom are you targeting, for the, I mean, whatever product that you may want to communicate for. Of course, then we have marketing, once again, where we are combining fashion with certain students opting for fashion, design, marketing, and psychology. So basically, business studies, business management, and psychology,
Mm.
which are part of the group. Three for the IB students, can be combined, and who has this creative streak can go for fashion. So
Mm.
not necessarily that this student should be fashion oriented, but should be oriented of how to sell fashion.
Mm. That's
Yeah,
a fantastic example. So here is a question for you. Like, so
yeah,
for a student having this combination of subject, what kind
right.
of a portfolio does the student do? Something
So
more
we
related to the fashion design portfolio in the arts, or something in the middle ground where it has inputs from the other subjects?
So yes, we do have many students, who have this kind of a bent. So here, the approach is understanding the portfolio to be a preview of what is the business sense of the student. She's
Okay.
not expected to understand the fashion in terms, of the
Making
cuts and the
silhouettes and
fabric.
cuts,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
but she is expected to understand the trend, the market, the consumer, the branding, the costing, how the globalization of the materials is happening, sustainable to materials which are coming up,
Hmm.
something with with the concept of fast fashion,
Yeah.
and slow fashion also, right? So
Yes.
bringing in the forecasting like approach in terms of styling, costing, it's basically four
And
P's what they
actually,
learn.
it's in the
Yeah,
form of a portfolio, right?
right.
All of
Yes,
that.
yes,
Okay, perfect.
yes. Yeah. So we do a lot of say, you know, kind of brand like understanding, brand comparisons, rebranding, of a of a very well-known, kind of a brand or a product, launching a new product. That if this person wants to launch a new product, that means that they have to first understand what is the market, what is already there in the market, what can now be added. So where are the gaps, what is the lacuna in the business field, whether this a business can survive, what would be the projection or what is the trajectory, of the profit. So, I mean, would you be getting profit in the first year, which is not possible, third year not possible, fifth year, how would you get the funding, for your
Yeah.
project, how would you pitch to your VCs, right? So all these things are
And all this
coming
takes
under.
time.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's more of a portfolio which is like aligned towards the business sense, the marketing sense, and then actually the product can be anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to the next one, we have design and space. Sorry for the call. I'll just pause it so you can.
No problem.
Yeah. So design and space. Now this again seems to be a very popular choice between students, and surprisingly not coming from the metros, right? I
Hmm.
mean, that's something, which is quite, like a unique aspect. आप फोन उठा के तो बाजू में तो रख लो. Sorry, we just
No
have to
problem.
end it this bit.
Yeah. Yes.
10
But
o'clock,
yeah,
and yeah, the food is
interestingly, here I was seeing the same thing. So more in the
Hmm.
urban spaces, I feel the students are moving towards fashion, graphic design,
Yeah,
you know, and then that's interesting to know.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. उन- उनको कहा स्टूडियो फोन पे कर लेने. Sorry, there's an inquiry call on the landline. Saturdays, no, it's just
Yes.
yeah, parents just don't want to kind of, yeah, to
Do you
drop in
want me
and
to end it and then join again?
no, 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 that's
It's
okay.
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
they're just taking down the number.
No worries. We'll edit this part. I'll take a
Yeah.
note around this time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
हाँ, वो फोन थोड़ा वो साइड में ही वो रख दो. नहीं नहीं, साइड में मतलब वो उठा के रख दो तो वापस बजेगा नहीं. हाँ, बस ठीक. थैंक यू. और ये दरवाजा भी बंद कर दीजिए. Sorry.
No problem.
So, will we start?
Yeah, we can start here.
Yeah. So yeah, the next popular one seems to be design and spaces, and very ironically, it's coming uh, students who are not from a metro. So I think that's a great sign. What we see, that students who are not coming from the essential metros, they are very keen to change the spaces where they have kind of grown up, right?
Yes.
And I think the kind of like approach what they have is that I want to change the place where I grew up. I want to give back to the society where I had my childhood. So it's such a fantastic like approach
Yeah,
for
good
them
approach.
to
And also seeing it from the other side,
the other side. True,
It's
true.
always like they're thinking about making it more developed in the sense of having
Yes,
buildings, but getting more
true.
sustainable, going back to the roots, introducing their
Yeah,
own architectural forms, studying that. It's fantastic. And getting an
right.
identity
So
of
what
these spaces.
Right. So what we start, with students for, all these four verticals is first of all, like understanding the land, right? You need to understand the lay of the land. You need to understand the topography, geography, history, culture, and and the socio point of view, right? So socio economic, socio political, and socio consumers.
Yes, the
Because
people,
till you
the
do not
audience of it.
understand, right, till you do not understand that land, how can you bring in something new to that space, right?
Mm,
So we
mm.
have seen so many buildings, which would be, say, fantastic, build coming from an architecture point of view, but somehow, those places just don't work,
Yeah.
right? Or
Because
somehow,
if it
they
worked
just,
for another context, wouldn't work in this context and in different.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we first start with them, like understanding of what is the environment. So we say like oneness with you and your environment.
Hmm.
You and your environment are not different.
Hmm.
You and your environment is same. It's the other side of you.
Okay.
So if you do not understand your like environment, you or your work will not be able to find the right fit in that space.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's not actually the way these subjects are to be taught there. Fundamentally they would be that start with one point perspective, floor
Yeah.
planning, technical drawings. But I think at my studio what we do
Just to step back
is,
one more step, going back, right?
yes, yeah, yeah. So like we said that, the studio is just not grooming students coming with a approach to get marks or to get the admissions, but to have a holistic understanding as a human. So I always tell my kids that what is the difference between human and being humane, right? Human and humane are two different things. And if you can get, a pinch of both, you would be a perfect human being,
Hmm.
right? And nobody is perfect, right? We are always in a quest to get a better version of oneself, whatever, since yesterday.
Okay.
So the quest to have this great balance, I think, is the creative mind what I want my kids to develop,
Hmm.
right? And they may not be fantastic with the skills or the way they communicate, but if they can feel, they can sense, and then they can work. If the what we say now, that that if your intention is right,
Yeah.
you will,
You'll end
you
up
will
doing
get
the
it.
right thing. Yes.
Yeah,
And
right.
here,
So
what I
if you're,
also like the fact that, in a way, you are encouraging students to ask the right questions. It's inquiry,
yes,
rather than jumping directly into the skill
straight to
building of
the
it.
board, yeah.
Yeah, we then sit back and understand and ask the questions about the
Hmm.
topography, about the people, about the space, about the weather. And none of
Yeah.
these are often considered when a student directly jump into designing a building. So
Right.
that's
So
fantastic.
a lot of times, the parents say that today the work was not done, so what we see, I said, yeah, but we
There
had
are the
a lot of
drawings.
discussion. Yeah, but we spoke, we talked, and we had conversations, so that itself, is a growth mindset for the students. So not like everything can be documented, right? Some things are just there and here. And
Yeah.
that's what you
And
begin
sometimes
with.
you just plant the seed for it to bloom after a few months. You
Right,
need that
right.
incubation period. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happens with your your typical subject choices for furniture, product, interior, and architecture. Of course, nowadays, the whole like approach is for sustainable materials, sustainability. What kind of yeah. So I mean, I can share this one fantastic case study with you. There is this one student, who is coming from a business family, but was also very creative, and she wanted to get into furnitures. Okay, so I'm like, do you have an experience, of say some kind of carpentry, or somebody in your family has a workshop and all? Then no, no, no. I just like to do the woodwork because she's in a boarding school, and they have this campus where they have a carpentry workshop also. So she must have done some kind of a hands-on there.
Yeah.
So I said, fantastic, but your parents want you to get into, yeah, business.
Some
So
other
what would you
business.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did two portfolios for this student. One was a typical portfolio, and that is her drawing there for the furniture 1 year. And one was where we did a passion project with her for the two subjects. So my approach was that if you're starting a furniture store sometime in life, right, once you finish with your graduation and masters, I mean, essentially you would like to start something by yourself. So how would you run a business? So we did this entire study about sustainable furnitures. I said, I love sustainable furnitures, but when it comes to buying, I still buy plastic because it's durable, it's cheap. I can just click, or, connect online platform, and within 12 hours the delivery comes home. you know it's
So
just like a quick
convenience
fix.
over this aesthetic.
Yeah, the choice. I
Yeah.
said, yeah, so though I am a big supporter of sustainability, but given uh what do you call a situation, I'll go for plastic because it's faster, quick, like I said,
Yeah,
right,
the
the benefits.
convenience. Yes.
So how would you place a sustainable furniture in such kind of a consumer world? So we did case study of two Scandinavian furniture companies, and we did one with one Indian company who is a massive a producer of plastic furniture here. And then we compared how all the three companies they grew, what were their profits, who are the consumers, what is the target market, target audience, and then if she's starting a company, how many years will she take,
To break
to
even.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, to break even, to take a first salary for
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
In between, what all what do you call the permissions, policies, and the certificates will she need from the government,
Hmm.
right?
This is
And
so
that was the
weird.
reality.
Sometimes I feel I did animation filmmaking, and there I chose these. I went to a festival. I saw these fantastic experimental media of sand animation, charcoal, and
Yeah.
other things.
Mm.
I specialized in experimental animation, and then after that, in the industry, I was clueless. I
Yeah.
was like, where on earth am I? Because I'd never thought, like, in 6 months, where will I
Right.
be? So that is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic that beforehand the students are getting a taste of the real world and
Yeah.
in their own small ways having an understanding of how the world works. So they're
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
prepared at least.
Right. Right. Yeah. So by the time we finish the project, I'm like, now you know what you're going to get into.
Into,
She
yes.
said, I still want to fight it. I said, wonderful.
That is where
Go on and
you pass the
yeah.
first fire. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we do with this vertical. Moving on to fine arts is a self-explanatory thing. So metal craft, it being closest to my heart, because
Mm.
yeah, I'm a metal artist. So how would you work with different metals and alloys, and how would you make it more like available in the consumer market.
Hmm. So your
Yeah,
specialization was more
and
into
then of course we
jewelry?
have
Yeah. You tried
my
jewelry? Did you start?
specialization was no, I started as a metal artist, and where I was working with the major architects of the country, with the largest spans of work, say doing like a mural, or
Oh.
like a wall, or just you know what do you call it, like a freestanding sculptures.
Hmm.
But then of course I was expecting my baby, and I was at home for 3 months, and being a workaholic to what I am, I started to see the scraps in my workshop. And what I did was, okay, let me just convert the scraps as something which is wearable art. And I think
Wow.
that was my, yeah, that was my punchline at that point of time. I think that was 1995, where I launched my own jewelry line. And I used to supply to major stores in India and in US and UK. From jewelry, then I realized that, okay, my jewelry doesn't match the bags and the shoes, so I got into shoes and bags.
Wow.
And then I did a complete ensemble, and that's how I went to styling. I worked with the major fashion houses of the country, and worked with them for the fashion shows, for the shoots. And that's how styling came in, where I started to style for fashion magazines. And then I started to work with franchisee stores. And yeah, so
So what a journey. And then with all of this experience,
all of
into
this.
teaching.
Yeah, so my
Fantastic.
daughter by then came in grade 9, and that is when the portfolio had to be done.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I said, okay, I mean, I'm going to help you with the portfolio, and I started just enjoying, working with her, and actually not more with her, with the friends, because you know how the mother-daughter relationship is, when you want to teach her something very specific. So more than her friends started to come to me, and I said, oh, I mean, this is quite a satisfaction,
Yeah.
to teach what you know. So that's how I started to get into portfolios, and then yeah, there's never turning back. I think this was, yeah, more than 20 years back now.
Oh,
So yeah,
fantastic.
so this is how I know like everything, metal
And
craft,
it's a continuous
architecture.
journey, and it's a
Yes.
continuous journey that way, right?
Yeah, you evolve, right? We learn. That's how the
Evolve,
name we
learn,
learn.
and something new happens. Yes, great.
Yeah. So then we have the key like elements of a portfolio. So means, like I said, right, that a portfolio should be a individual projection of yourself, but we still needs to be within the framework. So of course, one needs to have a very clear understanding of what is my intent to get into a college. Now, one thing what I always tell my kids is that do not just keep one statement of intent
Mhm.
with, like, we all want to get our admission in the best colleges, but very typically the student will have the dream college, the safety net, and the targets, right? So to each of the college, your intent has to be different. You cannot have the same document for all the colleges. Please understand the background of the college. So we,
Exactly.
means me, myself, and my team, we actually sit and review each of the colleges. What does this college stand for? What is the college specialized for? What is the USP of this college? What else does this college support? Say, could be sports, could be community service, could be just the, say, the spans of the campus, or the kind of history which it has. So it's very important to first understand the profile of the college and then customize a statement of intent for that college.
Yeah,
Of
much
course, the
like
process.
applying for a job, right? You can't have
Yeah,
an AI generated cover letter for all
for
200
all.
jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
For job also we need to be very specific now.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Can you
Then the
give us
process.
some examples of the statement of intent?
So, like some colleges in the US, especially, would want to see the process. They are not interested in seeing the final product.
Mm.
They want to see that how much have you sustained the process of toying around with that idea. Like how much have you stretched your creativity with. So the statement can be that from where I started, like I said, the concept, the context, and the content, right?
Mm.
So once again, we can tie up those three C's out
Please.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
So what is my content? What am I coming to your campus with, right? And what is my USP which I'm bringing to the campus? Has to be very well articulated out here.
Mm.
And say some colleges in the UK would want you to basically analyze like an artwork, or say they want to analyze who you are. So
Mm.
your portfolio does not just have to be like aligned to the stream. Of course, like say 60-70% should be, say, if you are applying for architecture, you just cannot do something in fashion. You need to have
Yeah.
60% of your portfolio showcasing skills which are required
Quite
for
in.
that stream.
Yeah.
But like also show them different versions of you, like probably something what you have dabbled in fashion, say something in consumer, something as a community project, something where you have worked with a school project.
Mm.
So yeah, one more thing what I would like to add, that it's very important that we understand that the school work cannot be showcased as a portfolio. A
Mm.
couple of works is fine to just show that what is the continuum of your creativity, or from where you have started, and now where you are, most of the time there is this big confusion that can we use the school work, my
Mm.
child is doing visual arts,
Ah.
or say design in school, can I use the same work?
Mm.
You can use but just a couple of them, but ideally the college wants to see what you have done outside the
Thank
classroom.
you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the process work, where you are having a sketchbook, you can show a couple of some of your school work, but the concept development has to be shown of what you can do beyond your classrooms, right? And then the finished work, like of course, we need to document it in very good sense of composition, layout, lighting, and each work should have a rationale. We cannot just say, oh, I wanted to do it, or I was in the mood so I figured it out. No, they need a rationale. So like we said, that even if a student is starting from the middle, from the experimental stage, he still has to refine it and come back to the concept. So whatever you do, it goes in a loop, that you need to have your final work documented in a way where you have a good perspective to what it's going to showcase to the college, what they need. Like I said, some colleges might just need the final work, but they need a 500-word writer, right? Or some might say that, yeah, I need to see sketches from your first sketch till the last one.
Mm.
Of late, because of the usage of the AI, most of the colleges now are also expecting video recording bites of the student working, right? So they want to see, in say in a short video form, that how the student has worked throughout the course.
Yeah.
And of course, some of them, they have like a interview, where they want to know that how did you think this and why did you do that. So in a way that they are just trying to cross check if the work is done by you and not by the software. So
So
that's
in
where
this
I tell.
video, does it show that the student working, or does it show the student talking to the camera and recording herself about the work?
It could be both.
It could be
It
okay.
could be both, yeah. But the formal one is normally being called by the college once a portfolio has been submitted. So if you have passed, the round one, then they would call you. If so, one is if they feel, that there's something off for the portfolio, they would want to have a conversation with you. Like I said, right, and that's where we tell the parents, see, like this is why you need to do handwork. You
Yeah.
cannot rely on AIs,
Yeah.
because I mean they're going to catch you there, right? So no way we want to get into that space.
Mm.
And so one way is that where they will want to know, to cross check, and second is to really understand you as an artist, that what was in your mind, what did you think, that what was the concept that you made a certain whatever, like an artwork in a portfolio. Is just a way that they want to check that do you have that in you for that particular specific institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
From there on, like, yeah, what we are just seeing one of the samples of one of the slide. Now you can just show the process work, what you see here on the left side, statement of like intent, and then the process,
Mm.
right? So in this way, I mean, this is like an ideal way where you show that, I mean, what all have been the back end work. So here she's done, some bit of her R&D in different textiles, and that's it. So this slide is of a student who, sorry, was being brought up across the continent. She grew up in South Africa, and then she moved to Singapore, and then she came back to Bombay.
Mm.
So she wanted to show. So we were talking that what should be her first slide be. Right now, your first slide has to be very, very uh, what do you call? It should hold the gaze of the person, right? So just the tagline across three homes. So
Yeah.
it's very important for the title also. So this means that the person is going to be curious to know that what is she
To
talking
know
about.
more
There,
about, yeah, her.
yeah,
Exactly.
right. And that's where the story says that I grew up in these three different countries, but the similarity between the three countries was a marketplace, right? So the common marketplace, the kind of energy, the buzz, and the whole experience of the sense of smell, touch was there, and how she carried on while she was growing up. So that's a complete story what she has
In one
talked
slide.
about.
Yeah, story
Yeah.
in one slide.
So that's the opening, say, a chapter for a portfolio, right? So if something like this is there on the first page, they would want to go to the next slides there. So moving on, from like what we started, that that your first slide should be a very strong in terms of holding on to the attention of the like audience. So typically how a portfolio is mapped out is that we first do mind mapping and create a theme. So mind mapping is not coming from a psychometric a test point of view, but coming from how does the student's mind work, right? So the student's mind will not work in a same like order every day, right? Just like what you and I would do at work, that sometimes I feel great, sometimes I feel very low, but we need to have an output. So in a similar way, how would you map the workings of the student's mind and then creating a theme which is tying it up together? Of course, we then move on to how do we ideate and we explore with different mediums, materials. We finish the work, the product, and then how are we going to refine it? So one important step to take back here is that we are not always going to refine the product in like actual. It can be a hypothesis. It can be a hypothetical, way to tell that, okay, if I have to take this product from here to there, this is what I would like to do. Like I said, the college is not expecting them to give a fantastic product or a finished product, but to see how the child has reached to that stage. So if you want to go beyond that stage and say something like, one of my students wanted to do a shoe coming from reusing the plastic bags, but he had to make a die. Now, as a student, you cannot make a die of a shoe, right? Because that is only been done when you have production. So, but the proposal and the workings of the die can be shared,
Yes.
right? So how are you going to refine that idea? How are you going to digitalize, like we spoke about earlier, that how are you going to take photographs, document? It can be audio, video, it can be a combo of both, still photographs,
Or
and
even making a portfolio, like I
portfolio.
remember
Yes.
a student made a cardboard portfolio on a similar product. Yes.
Sure. And then the write-ups, right? So it's very important to tie it up, like what we spoke like earlier, that there are different requirements and prerequisites of colleges. So some might
Yeah.
say require like only 12 slides, somebody might say 24 slides. So in this way, how are you going to choose the correct slide for the correct institute is very, very
Yeah.
important.
Because some would
So
also want a prototype, maybe, that way. Yeah.
yeah, right. So in that order, it's very like important to be able to choose the best of the work
Mm.
for that college. So you need to have the right fit. Do not think that this is my best work and this is what I want to share.
Mm.
What is the best work for that college is something what you need to pick and choose for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. And then of course, if you get the time, to finish the portfolio early, do go back to the university and ask for a feedback. Almost, I think most of the universities are happy to preview your portfolio way early. And what I think is a good strategy, that when you are going to the university way earlier than your application date and saying that, hey, can you give me some feedback, they are more than happy. And this means that you have already contacted the university before your file goes. So this also shows the university that you are a keen learner. That means you have already touched base the contact, and then when your application goes, they can then match the conversation that, oh, I mean, this is a student who contacted me last year and now has submitted the portfolio.
Yeah.
So this is, so this is also basically building relationship with the universities.
Yeah. And showing your consistency, showing your
Yes.
resilience. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, one second. Then the general tips, what I would like to share is, like I said, start with a very strong piece. You should have a timeline where you can show the most present work in the front, and then and
Go
then go
backward.
backward, like I
Yeah.
said. Yeah. Mm, always try to have some connection in between your like artworks. They cannot stand in isolation, they have to be connected to one another. Like I said, it's a storytelling, right? So you need to say that from where did one idea was there, and how it transpired to the next one.
Mm.
The thing what I think nowadays what lacks with students portfolio is research. For them, they just have a prompt which they're just going to you know uh, kind of upload it to some certain softwares, and then they're going to ask that, give me like an idea for this so and so artwork. So this once again means that you have not done your R&D. It's very important for student to talk from a primary source. What we say primary source is from one's own personal experience. When you are talking from your personal uh, experience, it also shows that how you are a thinker, or how you can take the risk, or so basically you can align it to your learner profiles, whether you're an IB student or a IGCSE student, to the learner traits. Combine it with them, and that shows a good strong platform for the university to see that how you are as a student also. Like we spoke, that the work has to be relevant to the program and to the university where they are going to apply for, and then of course have a range of skills. What we say, 2D, 3D and 4D. Your every slide should essentially show your rough sketches, like your sketchbook work of how you came up with the concept. Could be just a simple diagram or a sketch where you have written down your notes, whatever you want to talk about your concept material study. Do it in a 3D form. That means if you can make a prototype, a structure, a model, and then if you are well versed with a certain software, please use a certain software for that product. So there are different softwares which are used more commonly for certain stream. Like if you are doing product architecture interior, then you would need something like an AutoCAD or a Blender or a Sweet Home, versus to a fashion student working more with Illustrator or a Procreate. So different fields will require different software. So if you have that skill, it's great to showcase it out here. Like I said, that the starter, the first page should be the most strongest one, which is creating interest, like a point of interest and like a narrative about yourself. Timeline, so include the work what we spoke about, from the first and the last. Connection, which we spoke once again, that it should come from a personal life story. Lot of R&D done at the back end. It should be relevant, to the program and the university what we have spoken about. And yes, different kind of exploration, like I said, 2D, 3D and 4D. And yes, of course, the benefits are something what we have kind of spoken, in the entire talk, that it should have a real world project, show your visual skills. That means how are you going beyond your classrooms? What is your say your highlight, that are you a creative student, are you a problem solving student, or do you want to start something new? It should be demonstrating a personal growth, a personal say space where you have grown from your grade 9 to grade 12. And once again, it has to have a story. It should be a holistic profile where you, like nowadays, I think most of the colleges or workplaces are also stressing about what is your EQ. So we at a studio, we actually start with an EQ program where we are understanding the emotional quotient of a student, because at times the student comes with a lot of baggage, right? A lot of baggage which they have not been able to share back at home, and that is the reason where they are behaving in a certain way. So when we are doing a process of mind mapping, after that we do a short course with them about understanding their EQ. So world is moving from IQ to EQ, so very important to showcase your emotional side, that what is your, say like a softer side, of
Yeah.
you being human. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, that show like a diverse platform of the talents that you can do within. Say if you have done sports, you can have one work which is, say, kind of related to sports, community service, combine your passion out there, showcase who you really are.
Or
And
even
yes, you
reading,
have.
maybe,
Yes,
something
yeah,
very different as reading. What kind of books you
yeah,
like to read, or
yeah,
gardening, you know?
correct, correct. I mean, like I said, right, it could be, say, something like dancing also, right? So whatever you're passionate about, take up a project with that and showcase it. So this also shows the college that, oh, you are a dancer, oh, you are a singer, oh, you are a sports person. That means you're bringing in those many qualities more to the campus. And you are, right, you are just not a student, but you'll be contributing, in their uni fairs, in their whatever functions that they would be having. And then you have to position your personal branding. So I mean, in the studio, the last 1 month, what we literally work with students is, how are you going to create your own personal brand, right? Their college has got thousands of applications, but how are you going to stand out of that?
Yeah.
What is
From
your personal
moving
brand?
from being a number to being an identity. So
Yeah,
that journey is
right.
covered.
Yeah, so how are you going to present yourself? So we also train students to do their voice modulation, the presentation, how they have to sit, how they have to talk,
Mm.
how can they, they just kind of like answer questions that, tell me something about yourself. Don't start that, hey, I'm Neha Pandit, I'm so and so.
Okay.
Don't start first with your name, start with what you do. Hold on to the like audience captive for the first 30 seconds and then tell your name, right?
Mm.
So certain strategies, like what stands out. So yeah, that's how we close the portfolio, and we wish the students further on to move. And yeah, the studio works as I think debunking the myths. So that is generally more for the parents, like what we say, that there are real money making careers in art. Okay, so do not say that is this for artists who just has a bag and some chappal. No, it's not that way anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, you can earn very well in creative fields, and you do not naturally need to be creative. I think that's one of the strongest
Yeah.
debunk which I have been doing, that you can build skills,
Hmm.
right? But we need like an aptitude for that. We need the hunger for that. If that hunger is there, we can build up the skill set. that's
Yes.
that's no rocket science. And yes, like we said, that in 2025, in fact, what the statistics show, that there is a 40% deficiency in the art and
Art related
design
fields there.
job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So there is already a 40% deficit in the workforce. So
And
why are
also
we
for
saying that?
teachers.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, everything like around the like umbrella, what I mean, right?
Okay.
So if there are more teachers, there will be more students. If there are more students, there will be more jobs. If more jobs, more money. More money means more teachers, more schools, right? So it's
Yeah.
once
It's
again a
cycle.
cycle. But stats literally show that there's a 40% deficiency in the next 5 years in the workforce. So each student will get a placement, not just in college, but at their workplaces also.
And that's reassuring, especially to know in the times of AI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that is something what we stand by, and this is what we have been doing at our We Learn Studio. So yes, now over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. This was like the first thing that comes to my mind is I wish I had this guidance when I was applying for my university. And at that time, I would say it was more intuitive. You would reflect more often and then naturally put on elements in your portfolio that you thought was right. There was nothing like guiding you there. I remember going to my university, like my college, without
Huh.
a portfolio, but just with a hard disk which had a film. That's it.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
imagine I'm sitting there with all other students, applicants, along with the
Hmm.
parents, and they're carrying these thick, big black portfolio books. And
Yeah.
just because I came in from, I did in my bachelor's economics, stats, maths. And then I was like, oh my God, quite late. That's
Yeah.
not for me. And I learned, self learned how to make films in animation and then made an animation film, sent it to festivals. And that film was the only thing I got for the portfolio, my interview. And yes, I felt so scared before entering
Yeah.
the room, for the interview. So, but
Right.
like you said, all the things that you said that the university was looking at, maybe they saw the grit, the perseverance in me, the challenge that I could,
Yeah. The
even
spark. The spark.
without, yes, having those subjects or guidance, what did I do? So it wasn't about
Mm.
the perfect work, it was about the
Right.
journey and the story that you carried.
Yeah.
So,
The
yes,
story.
yeah, something that we figured out in life and it
By
took very
ourselves,
long.
yeah, we just stumbled upon.
Yeah, so we stumbled upon and things happened. And there you have a more guided, structured path for the
Right.
students
Yeah.
so that they can at least not be lost. They have a light at
Right.
the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So
See,
thank you
but
so
then
much.
again, I mean, see, I mean, kind of happenstance will happen, right?
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean that we do not do anything for the kids, right? At least we can show them, right? We can be the lighthouse, and then it's their journey. Then just trust them, right? Then whatever comes out will be great. But this is our responsibility, what we need to do for them. That's what I just feel, that we just cannot let them be.
yeah.
If you can provide them whatever that we have, nothing, nothing like that.
Nothing beyond that. Yeah. So thank
Yeah.
you so much from the behalf of all the students and parents who are going to see this documentation. And now I have this quick round for you.
Oh my.
A very short, rapid round.
Okay.
Just a few questions, and we'll finish it off in 3 minutes. And you would answer it in just one word or two. I know it's very, very difficult to do
That's
that.
challenging now.
Yes, to do that, especially for arts, where everything is perspective, open-ended,
Yeah.
and there are multiple views. But still, this would be really interesting to know, get an insider's view, and just like free play. I just
Yeah.
thought it would be interesting. Okay.
Sure. Let's play.
Let's play. Okay. One portfolio mistake students should avoid.
Showing the final work.
Sketchbook or final artwork?
Both.
Okay. Traditional or digital?
Blend.
One habit every young artist should develop.
Practice, practice, practice.
A portfolio that stayed with you and why? Yes, here you can go a little longer.
Oh my, there are many, but one which came as a challenge for this fashion business branding management portfolio, which we really had to figure out a right balance. Like I think we spoke about that also, that I did want to show her as a student coming from an acumen of a business, but also wanted to show the creative side. And the girl was not coming from an art field at all. She was a commerce student, but wanted to do her MBA in fashion business management, right? So it was completely like off the grid from what a typical student would want to. One, that she was not a creative student. Second, she wanted to go into business management, masters, and fashion. So to combine all those four into one portfolio, that was a challenge. But the way it turned out, I think it was one of my bestest work. Yeah.
Okay. And the last one, best advice you received as an artist. Again, you can go 2 lines for this.
We learn.
Thank you so much. This was lovely. And thanks to the entire VLearn team. I know I've been coordinating with a couple of people. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
all of them. And thank you for being on the show. Looking
Yeah,
forward
thank
to
you so much.
catching up again.
Yeah, but in person now. So when you come to Mumbai, you have to come to the studio.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. And it was great catching up after 15 years also. I think we just took up from where we left.
Yes, exactly.
Thank
Take
you
care
so
and
much.
have a great weekend.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye. Thank you. Bye.